Another door you opened for me was talking about the varieties of consciousness in animals in particular. Let's talk about the distribution problem. So, if I were to create this Cartesian chart that separates conscious beings from unconscious beings, where would you place all these living creatures? Where would you place plants? And then within animals, where would you place birds, bees, insects, dolphins, monkeys, bats, infants, adults? How would you distribute consciousness across some examples of living creatures?
So the distribution problem is the problem of how can how can we know which creatures are conscious? Okay, and it comes from the animal consciousness literature, but you can expand this to think about which creatures are conscious in the world. So I discussed the distribution problem related not just to animals, but I think cerebral organoids is an interesting case. Are cerebral organoids conscious? Yeah. Are machine conscious? Okay. Are infants conscious? Are fetus in late stage pregnancy, are they conscious? So how consciousness is distributed in nature, and you have a new candidate is whether machine can be conscious. Okay. But you can also apply this similar question to our to an adult humans are patients with disorders of conscious. Okay, so I understand one version of the distribution problem is whatever you cannot ask directly to the creature that does not have the capacity to tell us about their conscious states, so a creature that has no verbal report. Whatever you cannot ask, there is a question whether that creature is conscious or not. So one question is how we can know. I can formulate this as the problem of other minds. How can we know that someone else is conscious? Some philosophers hold is a type of view that it's a kind of solipsist view that I can never know about who is conscious beyond my own mind. The only mind I can know is my own conscious, my own experience. I think this is too restrict. I think we have good evidence. I have good evidence that you're conscious. You are interacting with me, you're reacting to me, you are having actions around and behavior that indicates that you're conscious, you're following me with your gaze, you respond to questions, and you interact with appropriate facial expressions. So it seems you're conscious to me. But imagine I open your brain and it made by silicon matter, something completely different. It doesn't mean that I will rule out completely that you're conscious. I still might say, okay, well, if this is a machine, he's a pretty good candidate of a conscious machine, because so far the interaction is pretty compelling. Yeah. Of a conscious creature. You act as a conscious creature.
I'm passing the Turing test.
Yeah, you definitely more than the Turing test, not just behave like but you are, you have not just not just speak as, talk like a human, but you act like a human in many ways. Yeah. Okay, I saw you moving here in your studio, and I have many information that confirm my expectation that you're conscious. But if if you're not a biological creature, I might say, okay, is this type of machinery that you have, can I rely that this type of machinery actually can give rise to conscious processes? And one question is, there is a question about the material you are made of, but there is also a question of how you come to existence. Are you just some assembling of pieces like this Lego here? Are you a Lego? Maybe if you're a Lego creature, I might be less confident. Maybe if you're made about some neurocircuits that is or is a quasi brain processing, very close to an emulation of our brain process, I'll be more confident that you might have conscious experiences. And you can think in the same, if you have, in the case of animal consciousness, in the case of animal creatures, you can also raise the similar problem. In that case, the biology is not the problem. The way the creature is come to existence is less the problem, because we know how those creatures, how they emerge in the evolutionary process, but also how they emerge, how they are reproduced by previous creatures that reproduce them. Okay? So this question will be less a problem, but you can still ask the question if they have the type of brain structures or the type of physical processes that are similar enough to the cases where I'm more confident that this creature is conscious. So in the case of animals, are cephalopods conscious? Do they have the same type of physical process or brain structures, nervous systems we have? And if you go very far away in the evolutionary process, in creatures that is very different from us, we become less confident. Behavior, as you said, those creatures have the behavior. The Turing test is regarding the behavioral markers. So some creatures have behavior that indicate, at least in our case, those behaviors would correlate with conscious. So behaviors would be a relevant marker in those cases.
Which creatures?
But creatures that feel pain, that has avoidance behavior when they, for instance, octopus, there are very complex behavior and very complex behavior in reaction to pain, okay? Avoidance behavior when they feel pain. So this is, and they also seems to have some motivational behavior. They search for things regarding their interest. So there is some kind of motivational behavior. And there's some type of learning, the creatures that can learn, okay, that are capable to use past experiences to avoid or to find some reward in their environment. So those are three components: learning, motivational structure, and a guidance behavior, some actions that is in attempted to get some reward or avoidance of pain. Those are three components of behavior that is, with us, correlates with consciousness. So we can at least raise the question, or at least have some expectation that those creatures might be conscious. Are there nervous systems? A confirmation for this might be or not, okay? But at least you cannot rule out, based on behavioral evidence, that they are not conscious, even though you might not have a final answer if they're conscious or not. Okay, you might not have all the evidence that could respond to any type of skeptical questions regarding the type of consciousness. And I think this is the same for other creatures. I'm interested. In our case, I think I'm interested in when consciousness emerges. Okay. So it's a different type of distribution problem. So in our case, we are not, we don't have any skepticism that we will become conscious at certain point. Okay, it's different from the case of insects. For instance, are insects conscious? Okay, are bees conscious? There is it's one of the big debates nowadays is around insects and around bee consciousness. Are they? I think there are interesting evidence. Yesterday in the conference, one of the biggest specialists on the science of bees' minds, Lars Sichika, he showed a compelling video of bees playing. Not just it's not that they will play with this Lego pieces. But they did many experimentation with bees, for reward and avoidance, if they want to have some, be compensate with some drop of sugar, something that they would be attracted to have. They can roll a ball from one side of the other, they can learn what is the behavior they can perform that they will receive some reward. But they also have an interesting, they did a different trial where there is no reward involved. They just put the bees, there are two, they call playgrounds, two different spaces, one space with balls that the bees could play with balls, and the other space was empty space. There is the only difference between those spaces, there is no food reward in or caloric reward in any of those environments or any kind of behavior that the bees could want to avoid those environments. The only reward was one environment they could play with the little balls, and the other environment was kind of empty environment, and they would prefer the places they could play. So there is a preference of a playground, that there is some object interaction. And the only thing that the bees were performing in this playground was playing with those little balls. So it's interesting because it goes beyond of what we expect of just a very simple mind that will react to reward or punishment or avoidance of some discomfort, but also some interest of have some interactions with objects that we thought in the past would require more complex mind. Okay, so the idea of playing, it's something we think that just some complex mind will have pleasure with assembling those pieces. Yeah. So this is an interesting question. But is this sign of consciousness? Some scientists and some philosophers think that this is pretty good evidence, a reliable, realistic probability that they are conscious, and the other are more skeptical. Would some scientists think that we need a better other types of evidence to confirm that insects would be that insects are conscious or not? And yeah, I think this raises also the same question in the case of machines. Okay, if you hold a view of consciousness where biology, as the professor Ned Block at NYU holds, the biology is some type of biological processes is required for consciousness, you might be more skeptical that machines would be conscious in the future, or at least some emulation of this process would be required. If you don't think that this is required, you might have more a liberal view and think that maybe other type of physical processes might give rise to consciousness, and then machines would be a candidate.